Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be starting Sketchbook 14. So to get started, I've decided I want to draw snakes. That's going to be my theme. And I also want to cover the cover because while I do like the goat, this is very noisy down here. And I want to put the sketchbook number on the front, and there isn't really room. Like, I could put it up here if I was feeling lazy, but I just don't feel like it, and I don't want to see this. So I made this with some scrap watercolor paper, just put the paints wherever. I'm gonna glue this on, and then I will do a page with the dates and a page with my goals for the sketchbook, and then we'll do a spread of various snakes, and that should be a lot of fun. So I'm gonna be using super glue. That is ridiculous overkill, and I would not normally use this for this sort of application, but seeing as I'm doing this on camera and trying to save time, that's what I'm gonna be using. I'll probably add some more glue later under these corners just to stop them from lifting, but for now this is fine. Alright, so this is the page where I'm going to do the sketchbook number and the dates where I started and finished, and I want to illustrate a snake on this page. I'm going to be using a coal erase pencil for this, which I wouldn't normally do. I tend to save coal erase pencils for basically exclusively tracing images onto tracing paper, because I don't like how waxy they are. They make it hard to use like water-based media on top of them. So for this one, I'm gonna go with a California red-sided garter snake. Later on, I'd like to paint some of the local paint the local variety of garter snake to where I live, because I think they're very cute, but these ones are nice and flashy. Let's see, I want it to swoop down. I was gonna have him facing, you know, the viewer or the camera or whatever, but I don't like that. I'm gonna have him looking this way instead. Whenever I start a sketchbook, I try to pick something that's both interesting, but also not too difficult, so that's kind of low pressure. And I feel like snakes are the perfect balance of that, because you can get these really interesting, visually pleasing curving lines, and some like interesting designs on their backs and stuff like that, but at the same time they are literally just like long noodles. There's no limbs, there's no complicated joints, it's just head, ribs, tail, which means you can just kind of do whatever you want and make it fit the sketchbook or canvas or whatever you want to call it, however you want. I want that to curve around a little bit more. Like that. Alright, and this tail up here is a little too thick. I'm gonna thin that down. Alright, so I've got his body in, and I like this design. Now I'm gonna use my favorite method for adding in the little box, which is to put a mini sticky note in a spot that looks almost straight. Well, that looks worse. Whatever. You put in a little mini sticky note and then you trace around it and you get this perfect little rectangle. You can even fold it up and give yourself a little guideline for writing in the date. Like that. Now I can get everything in all nice and even. I still need to add in his little markings. It shouldn't be too hard. And I've put him twisting around so that we get a little flash of the belly, because a red-sided garter snake has a bright blue stomach, and I think that's really, really pretty. Actually, I think I'm going to have it twist around one more time up here. No, I think we're going to do it this way. Yeah, so that we get a little bit more blue up here, because I think that would be really, really pretty. So this will be the center line of his design. We've got a big blue stripe going down the middle of their spine, and then the sides are checkered red and black. Alright, so I've got all of his markings marked out, and I am going to ink it now. This is a 0.5. It's not really... you can see it a little bit. Well, that could have gone better. It also could have gone much worse. I've never really liked fine liners, to be honest. The marking on his head goes up, and it comes to a little point, and it has black all the way around it, and then it goes down and kind of wraps around the head, like that. I should use a thicker pen, though. Alright, so we're starting it on April 15th, 2014.
2014.
And of course I'm leaving a space for the date when I finish it. So I'm just going to erase all of the pencil lines that I can, and then we will be able to color him in, which is, of course, the most exciting part. Alright, with all that cleaned up, I'm actually quite pleased with this. I'm going to be using watercolor for the red spots and for the stomach, but for the stripe I'm going to use a colored pencil just because I feel like it would help it show up in some of these harder to read areas. I think I'll do that first while the watercolors rehydrate. As I mentioned earlier, this is not a native species to where I live of garter snake. At least I don't think we have these anywhere here. But we do have garter snakes here, and they're the simpler black ones with just little white stripes down their sides, and I think they are very, very cute. I've always really liked them ever since I was really little. I would go out into the yard and pick them up, and if you don't know what garter snakes are, or you don't have them where you live, they are just about the most harmless snake you could possibly come across. Aside from another native snake we have here, actually, I have heard that the rubber boa is ridiculously tame for a wild animal. I've never seen one, but we do have our own boa in Washington State, and I think that is amazing. If you've never seen a photo of one, they are delightfully ridiculous looking. They really do look like they're made out of rubber. Alright, let's see. Yeah, that looks okay. You know what this is reminding me of without the red? It looks a lot like a sandworm from Beetlejuice. I think I've got Beetlejuice on my mind because I got a notification that Bentley House Minis had posted today. And I have not watched it yet, but I really want to. The paint color I'm using is emerald green, by the way. It's a vintage paint, and it's a mix of a couple of colors. That's usually what emerald green is. Emerald green is usually a mix of pigments, and each brand's mix will be slightly different. These are Grumbacher Academy. I can't remember if they still make their emerald green, but I do recommend Grumbacher Academy paints. They're quite nice. I'll probably give him another coat of blue over that, but I'm gonna let it dry. I'm looking at my reference again, and I think this blue line is a little too dark. So I'm gonna try going over it with sky blue light in a Prismacolor Colorase, not Colorase, Prismacolor colored pencil. It's working okay. I do find that the white adjacent colors tend to be much more covering than the Prismacolor white pencil. So if you can find like a white green or a white blue that will suit your purposes for covering something up, those tend to work a lot better. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I thought I was recording just now. I have no idea how much got recorded and where that cutoff was. I hope it wasn't too much. I added this red part behind the little Sketchbook 14 bit. I think the last thing I did was add some blue, but I don't know. Hopefully I got all that. Alright, so I was looking at this, and you can see here how the cadmium red has really covered up those stripes and made them really dull. And I decided to try going over them. At first I decided to try doing it with the micron, but the paint really dried out the tip. So then I decided to try this, a Pentel color pen. It's a felt tip pen, and that worked a lot better. It didn't dry out as easily. And so I'm gonna go over all of this to make it nice and dark. I don't mind how the cadmium red made this stuff more subtle, the scales, because I like that they're just little implied lines, but these markings are meant to be like really dark. And when I'm done with that, I will actually move on. Alright, that's all that done, and I definitely like this a lot better. I'm just gonna get his little eyes. Yeah, there we go. I like that a lot. That's pretty cool. Alright, so, next page. This is going to be... Alright, on this page I want to do a kind of Ouroboros type frame around the middle, and then write all of my sketchbook goals in it. And because it's such a small sketchbook, it's going to be on a 2-page spread. And the snake I'm going to be using as a reference, I have no idea what it is, because it's Pinterest and photos are just put on there willy-nilly. I don't think I actually want like a literal Ouroboros though, with the snake biting its tail. I think I just want it like in a loop. So, let's see. Where do I want the head? I think I'll have the head over here, and then the tail can go over here, like that. Okay, so the tail will go down like that to make a smooth line, and the head is like here. Something like that. This snake has a very wedge-shaped head, so less of like an eye shape that some snakes have, or whatever it's called. Is it called an elliptical? No. It's sort of that diamond shape, I guess. It's more like a wedge of Parmesan with the tip cut off. And around and down. And tuck it under the head to kind of imply an Ouroboros kind of inspiration without actually doing that. Because, I don't know, the idea of a snake actually doing that makes me sad. They do that sometimes, though. They will sometimes just, like, swallow their own tails, which is disturbing. Look, we can't all have brains and be pretty, and snakes have clearly chosen more of a beauty over brains route. Alright, I like that. That's good. Gonna add the little face markings. Let's actually make sure this face is like symmetrical. That. And then we've got a sort of diamond point up here, or triangle, or whatever. It gets really thin and then it spreads out over the snoot again. And then we've got like a little shape that follows this curve on the side of the face. That's black. And then the eyes are like all the way down here. So that's pretty good. And then the markings don't start until like way down the body. Where did the eraser go? Here it is. Alright, I've realized that for making a gradient like I'm going to need for this snake, I'm going to need a palette. So I've got the very high-tech plate. Just gonna do the cute purple face markings, and then do a lighter coat of the purple here, because the nose is more muted. There we go, that's really, really cute. Alright, so now we get to do the fun part, which is the gradient. From this really vivid orange, all the way down to like a cream color. I got the idea to do this sketchbook goals page from Lil Star Nerd. She does this page where she lays out all of the goals she has for the sketchbook in like an actual work of art that frames it and makes it look cool. And the few times I've ever done this, where I've put where I've made goals for a sketchbook and then I've put them in, I've just kind of made just a list, but I've never done like like this, where it's like a nice full kind of framing and making it look like really, really nice. I've never done that, but I wanted to because I really like seeing it in her sketchbook, and I'm hoping it makes me want to look at it more so I can remember my goals. I've wanted to make a video talking about these paints for a while, but it's been so long since I got them, and I feel like they would have been most interesting new, or like when I got them. Obviously they wouldn't have been new. They are, I'm pretty sure these paints are like older than me, so it could be interesting, I don't know. I want to do some blue in the middle because that will also help make the orange a little bit more vibrant looking, but like a very washed out blue, which is not what I'm getting. Oh my god, so much paint. So much paint. There we go. That's dry enough, yeah. And gotta get these little black markings around the face. There we go. Still need to add the... oh my god. The gray fade that adds a stripe down the back. Alright, I'm gonna try to do that nice gradient I was talking about. So, fingers crossed. I've stopped looking at the reference, so I'm just gonna hope I'm doing this right. Okay, so far so good on the gradient. I'll probably go and darken up the tip of the tail, but I do think it's going okay. I'm just adding a little bit of water to my gray paint every time I reload my brush. And hopefully by the time I get to the end, it will be light enough to fade out into almost nothing. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I am going to add some black up here. And darken these up, because this is supposed to be like black. There we go. Alright, so I need to add the goals for the sketchbook, but I'm going to do them in pencil first so that I get it right, and then I will go over it with pen, and that's what I'll actually film because you won't even be able to see it. Okay, I think I wrote these too small, but whatever. So my first goal is finish before the end of July. My second goal is draw in pen, by which I mean draw directly in pen. Instead of sketching with pencil first, I want to get some experience with that. And the first prompt is about trying to get my goal of finishing 3 sketchbooks this year. So if I finish this in the month of July, I will be on track for that. My third goal, do master studies. Because I really want to start actually trying to learn from artists I admire instead of just kind of passively consuming their art. I want to make a concentrated effort to try to imbibe my work with some of the things I admire from their work. Next goal is to try interesting color palettes. I see a lot of people do sketchbook spreads, and it's not that the art in the sketchbook spread itself is like crazy or hugely impressive, but then they'll pick these colors that make the whole thing really incredible together. So I'd like to start doing a little bit more of that, because it seems like a way to improve my sketchbook spreads without needing to spend more time on them. Because one, I'm trying to finish them quicker, but I would also like them to look a little bit nicer. And it seems like just a really good way to achieve that if I can just do it. So, next one is work on layouts. Kind of like the first one, I'm trying to make my sketchbooks more interesting and more visually appealing. And I also think like it would be a good way to practice layouts for comics and stuff, because I do want to do comics, and I feel like it might help me when I finally get around to like sketching that out to make my comic layouts nicer if I already have a good grasp of it from this. My next one is to finish Minnie Small's book. I started it in my last sketchbook, and I'd like to finish it because I was enjoying myself a lot, and I think it really did help me to finish that sketchbook faster, so I would like to actually finish that. My next one is to explore ideas in more depth. I feel like I started doing that in the last sketchbook, and I just want to continue to do so in this one. I'm just like playing with ideas and really digging into them before I commit to a painting, or even planning to make multiple paintings, exploring that idea instead of just one, moving on to the next thing, really getting the most out of every creative idea I have. My next one is to draw for fun. I did a little bit of that in the last sketchbook, but I'd like to do more of it. One, again, I want to finish my sketchbook quicker, and if I just draw the silly stuff, that will help. And two, you know, it's good to try and keep art fun. Next one is to carry it with you. A nice small sketchbook, which will make this easier, but I do want to start carrying my sketchbook with me when I leave the house and such, just to get in the habit of it. And the next one is draw from life. Kind of pulls from the previous one, but it's hard to find interesting things to draw around the house for me, so carrying my sketchbook with me will make it easier to find interesting things to draw. I don't know. It just makes sense to me. Then I think I'm just going to add a few lines to make this snake a little bit, or stand out a little bit more. And then I think I'm done with this page. Alright, that's that for this page. I'm actually really happy with it. The fade this way turned out really nice, and the fade this way also turned out nice, I think. And on this page, I'm going to do a couple of snakes. And just actually do some art. I was looking for more snakes to draw, and I found another picture of the snake I drew on the last page. But this one had the name on it. Apparently it's a cave-dwelling rat snake, which is pretty cool as far as names go. And this one I'm referencing a green python. Alright, I think that's just about right. Alright, I've decided what I kind of want to do with this spread. I want to do something by a YouTuber I recently found. How do you say that? Kadzaq? I'll link it below, but they did a thing where they did the 3x3 method for picking colors, and it was 3 different art supplies in 3 different colors. And so I want to do purple pen for the line art, pink highlighter for whatever, and this is, again, Satambi graphite colors, and this is the green, although I might change my mind and use the yellow, I'm not sure yet, but only one of them. So I think at first I'm just going to do all of the I'll sketch them and do the line art, and then I'll bring in the other colors later so that I can, like, do it more thoughtfully. And I'm trying to ink this kind of fast, both because I want to hurry up, but also because I think it makes for better line art, so long as you don't mess up, obviously. And then that little spine curve. And it's really cool when you can see that on snakes because it just gives them so much dimension. Yeah, that looks really cool, actually. I like that. Nose definition. There we go. Alright, I'm happy with that. Alright, so I want to do one curled up all small up here just to make use of this space. So I found a picture of one like curled up really small. I don't think this page would be fair to snakes if I didn't do one of the I am my own blankie snakes. I'm pretty sure this is a little hognose snake. He's so grumpy. Oh my god. Alright. Okay. And then, on to the next page. My camera ran out of battery, so I finished these sketches while I waited because it is the least interesting part. least in my opinion. So this one, oh my god, why am I suddenly so bad at the line art? This one was inspired by a picture I saw of a viper eating a bird, which is like, I don't know, I know some people will probably think it's grim, it's just nature to me, but it was eating a bird and the wings were like sticking out of its mouth, and it was the opposite direction to this, but I thought it was a really cool image, a snake with wings coming out of its head, the sides of its head. So I decided to do it, but like with them the opposite direction, so it would look more like they were attached, like part of the snake. Because I do really like winged snakes as imagery. Am I rushing? A little bit. I am starting to get a little bit tired of my camera running out of battery or memory, so forgive me. I meant to draw the wing going over the face here. Well, shit. You won't tell anyone. I know. It's okay. And then some of the spine lines. And then this is one of the native snakes where I live. I was just very excited when I found out that we had our own species of boa in Washington State. And of course, it is just the most ridiculous looking boa. I don't remember what that one, like, sand snake is with the sock puppet eyes. But aside from that, this is the most ridiculous looking snake I have ever seen. So it's called the rubber boa. Apparently it is just about the least dangerous snake you could ever see. Like, it doesn't even, like, bite. But it's also, like, really shiny and kind of olive brown. And it really is named well. It just looks like it's made out of rubber. But it has these silly small eyes and this, like, awkward expression. I've got the eraser that will save everything. Let's see, I don't want to color all these snakes in the same. I feel like that would be kind of boring. I want to pick out which of these to use because I haven't decided on the graphite green or the graphite yellow. I think I like the graphite yellow better. And I think I want to frame out the rubber boa. Oh yes, that's a straight line. Good job. Just give him a little frame to fill in with color. That's what I want to use the highlighter for. Like I said earlier, I've always really liked snakes, but I have honestly never considered getting one as a pet because I do not trust myself to take care of one. I need an animal that will, like, yell at me if it needs something. If I were to get a pet, it would probably have to be a cat, just because they're very good at communicating what they want. I always really love the opportunity to interact with other people's pet snakes because they're so cool. Let's see, oh, and I want to do the wings on here in the pink. Definitely want to do this guy in it because he's, like, actually this color. They're actually the color of, like, army green boot sole rubber. Wow, that's a lot of paint. You know, I wanted to do just 3 colors, but just the way it's laid out, if I don't add another, I'm worried I'll end up with all the snakes painted the same color. So I'm thinking about adding just like a blue, but I don't know, that feels like it might be cheating. Not cheating at art, just cheating myself, you know. Oh, wait, I have an idea. Okay, what if I use the graphite, but the red? The graphite red, because that's actually very reminiscent of the other colors already in it, so we're gonna keep the limited color palette. Okay, good plan. Alright, I think I'm just gonna add some of the red behind the green snake over here. Just to bring it in so I don't have just red on the top and green on the bottom. Speaking of snakes, one thing I've been thinking about, or one thing I think about every once in a while is, like, you know, every once in a while the internet will decide you need to see content about, like, people's pets, even though you don't really watch that most of the time. So I'll see stuff about like pet snakes. And people on the internet are so fucking mean to people who have pet snakes. It's ridiculous. It's just an animal. Why do you hate it so much? And why do you care if someone has it as a pet? You know, it's like one thing to freak out at people if they're not taking proper care of their animals or something, if they're being cruel to their animals, but like, people just hate people who own snakes and want to say horrible stuff about their pets, and it's really awful. Snakes are really wonderful animals, but I don't think you should say stuff like that about any living animal. I'm gonna move this clip so I can actually get this. Alright, I think I want to go over the wings with the graphite and see how that looks, although there's a chance that this won't work because the mild liners are very resistant to stuff being put on top of them. Oh, the paint seems to be working pretty well, actually. But they do not like having like colored pencil or even just regular pencil put on top of them. They make the paper behave very strangely, but I like that a lot. That looks really cool. And then I think I want to do like try and add a little bit of texture to this. That's actually working really well. This is reminding me a lot of like an eyelash viper. They've got these very textured scales that look really, really cool. So that's an interesting effect. I feel like it might seem weird to animals as the first thing I start my sketchbook with when I do figurative stuff so much, but I have wanted to branch out a little bit for a while, and I just tend to do it in my sketchbook instead of doing it in finished works. But I also like to start my sketchbook with like an easy win, if that makes sense. And animals are easier in my opinion than people, even though I draw people so much more often. There's just so many more ways for me to mess up, and it's so much more noticeable because we look at people more often than we look at animals. So I consider this my easy win. Alright. I actually like that a lot now, because we had like this kind of texture and colors, but this is like a lot of texture, which adds something to the spread that we didn't have before. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with the first spread of my new sketchbook. And this is where I'm gonna end the video because I'm actually pretty tired of drawing at this point. If you're starting a new sketchbook, let me know if you're thinking of doing any goals for that sketchbook or for your art. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you're feeling saucy. And I will see you next time. Bye.